Hello and welcome to this video on the top 10 most likely unseen issues for the November 2019 operational case study exam testing the pre-seen company Chokolate Box. So the purpose of this video essentially is to provide you with a little bit of an insight or a little bit of a sort of idea of some of the key topics that may come up and may be tested in your upcoming OCS exam. This is not a completely comprehensive list. There are key ideas in the pre-seen, so things like technology or the potential for acquisitions that we haven't covered in this video. This is just me picking out 10 of the most important issues that I believe will be relevant for your revision. So what is the basis for my choice of these issues? Well, this is firstly based on my reading of the pre-seen and my analysis of the information that is contained in the pre-seen. And this is then also used in conjunction with what I know about the OCS exam, past OCS exams, particular topics that commonly come up, particular themes here. So a balance between both these areas of knowledge have formed the basis of my choice for these top 10 issues. Okay, so breaking down my decision making in a little bit more detail. The first aspect of this was the focus that particular issues have within the pre-seen. So if an issue has a particular amount of space devoted to it, then what this really signifies to me and should signify to you is that the examiner has attached a degree of importance to this issue. CIMA uses the pre-seen as the basis for which to test you in your actual exam. So if there are specific issues mentioned in here, specific issues brought up, then this is likely to be some of the things that CIMA is looking to test going forward. The other thing that I've allowed to inform my choice when looking at the pre-seen is the strategic importance of particular issues. So we've undertaken a SWOT analysis as part of our strategic analysis in the previous video of this series. And so any issues that were particularly relevant, particularly important to this analysis of the business and therefore to the business's strategy going forward are issues that I've likely included in this video. And by considering things that are important to the company's strategy based on this analysis, I've also taken into account issues that are likely to be important in the eyes of the company's directors. So the final thing that's influenced my choice, as I've talked about, is my past experience working at OCS level. So as part of my role at Astranti, I've produced a number of mock exams for the past 5 or 6 sittings at OCS level. So I have a fairly good idea of some of the content that typically comes up in past exams, content that is regularly examined. And so this therefore gives me an insight into some of the typical issues that CIMA like to examine and how they may once again have hinted at these issues within the pre-seen and are therefore relevant for your revision within this video. And the other thing to consider here from CIMA's perspective is how easy is it to write issues on a particular subject. So this is another consideration that I will take into account when making my choices here. In terms of how to prepare for these issues, how to utilize this video in your exam, there are a range of key things that you can do based on the information I provide here. So the first thing is to prepare key models that you have come across in your studies to date based on information within the pre-seen. So there are a range of key models throughout the CIMA syllabus for operational level, and what you can do essentially is apply some of these models to some of the issues that I pick out as part of this video. The key thing here is to remember to adapt all the models, all the content for any new points that you produce or that you come across in the unseen. You shouldn't go into the exam with a preset question or a preset answer in your head. You must be able to adapt your answers, to adapt your knowledge to specific requirements and specific situations that are provided in the unseen. The other thing you can do is to practice mock exams that cover these key topics. So at Astranti at OCS level, we produce 3 full mock exams that you can purchase, and we try to ensure that the topics we cover in these exams are topics that are relevant to the top 10 issues that I'm highlighting here. So utilising these resources is a good way for you to practice writing mock questions under exam conditions on topics that may well come up in the exam. This video also then allows you to find relevant real-life examples that you can use in your exam. So the examiner really likes you to be able to demonstrate your wider knowledge about the industry in question. So what do you know about the wider chocolate industry surrounding Chokolate Box? And what you can do if you are potentially aware of some of the issues that might come up in your exam is prepare a few sample paragraphs based on specific issues that are relevant to the top 10 issues that I have talked about. And then you can learn these real-life industry example paragraphs and you can employ them as part of your actual answer in the exam. This video will also allow you to focus your revision on key points relating to key content. So for example, you may look at a particular costing or a particular budgeting model that may be relevant to this exam, and you may look through what are considered to be the key advantages and disadvantages of this model and learn these so that when you get into the exam your knowledge on this particular topic is tip-top, and so you will therefore be able to obviously competently address any questions on these areas in the exam. And finally, this video should allow you to prepare somewhat in terms of the models that you may be able to utilise to support the relevant issue that could come up in your exam. So for instance, if there is a question on marketing, for instance, or the issue of marketing is one that may well be prevalent in this exam, then you can take some time to look at some of the key models surrounding marketing. Build up your knowledge in these areas, and then this will enable you to utilize these models more effectively to support your answers and your recommendations that you provide in the actual exam itself. Okay, so enough background on the actual video itself. Let's dive into the first of the issues that I have selected here. So issue 10 is with regards to corporate governance. Now what I would say here is that these issues aren't numbered in order, so issue 10 is no more or less important than issue 1. The numbering here is just for the purposes of the list in this video. Okay, so corporate governance. Why do I think this is important, and what is the basis for my choice of this factor? Well, the first and probably the most crucial factor here is that Chokolate Box is a publicly listed company. Now, you do get public listed companies as the precinct company at OCS level. However, this is quite a rare occurrence. If I think back to the last publicly listed company, I would probably have to go back 3 or 4 sittings maybe to find an example of a precinct company of this nature. And so the fact that we have quite an unusual company at OCS level means that particular issues with regards to being a listed company, so things such as corporate governance, naturally become more important to this particular company. The other key basis of my choice is the prevalence of governance-related information in the pre-scene. So we get a range of information about the different governance practices that Chokolate Box is employed in. So for instance, we see that the company has appointed a number of non-executive directors as part of their organisational structure. So essentially the prevalence of governance related information in the pre-scene and a number of the practices that Chokolate Box has in place as a result once again show that this is an area that CIMA will probably be looking to test. Governance is generally speaking, at operational level, a fairly important topic. So it is prevalent in both the F and the E syllabus pillars. And so when you're looking at an important topic of this nature, which spans different areas and comes up in several different areas of the operational syllabuses, then this straight away hints, obviously, that we are dealing with an important topic that CIMA may well be looking to test. And finally, as a very general point here, it's a very important issue for any company. Now, this is more relevant because we are dealing with a publicly listed business here, but governance as a whole, running your business in the correct manner for all the key parties involved in it, is a very, very important topic for any type of business. And so obviously, a topic with this level of importance attached to it is going to be something that is going to be worth testing from CIMA's point of view. Okay, so we've seen the basis for my choice here. Now let's take a look at some of the likely issues that we may well come up against in the actual exam itself. So based on the information that we see in the pre-scene, some of the likely issues we might see in relation to Chokolate Box's governance may include a dispute between some of the key management figures of the business. Now, one of the points that is evident from the pre-scene is the way in which key management figures, principally the company's founders, Sebastian Becker and Adam Theroux, still dominate the business's strategy and drive the business's strategy. So there is the potential, I think, here for a dispute between these two key directorial figures and some of the other directors in the business. It would be interesting to see the extent to which these other directors are involved in things such as decision making. And so the dominance that the two founding members of the business have in terms of strategy setting and areas like that, I think could be a source of dispute for the business. So we may see a question examining the way that the top echelons of the company are managed and the focus and the prominence that the company's two founding members still have in terms of strategy setting. Another potential issue that we might see could centre around an external audit and the company's preparations for such an audit. So as a listed entity, as a public entity, issues such as external auditing become far more prevalent for the company to deal with, and as a result they become far more relevant in terms of CIMA setting exam topics that they would like to test. So some sort of scenario in which the company is involved in an external audit or is being audited by an external party in some way, I would say is a fairly likely issue to come up in one of the different variants or questions of the OCS exam. Remaining on the subject of audits, one of the governance weaknesses, one of the few governance weaknesses that are identified in the pre-scene relating to Chokolate Box concerns the company's internal audit department. So the main issue here seems to be a slight blurring in terms of reporting lines for the department, who is managed by an internal audit manager, but also reports to the company's audit committee. So a bit of a blurring of lines here. So one potential area you might be asked to examine is the effectiveness and the functionality of the company's internal audit department at present. Finally, you may be asked to review the managing director's role within the business. So there are some questions that I've talked about with regards to the dominance that this figure still has within Chokolate Box's operations. And there are further questions that can be asked in relation to the strategic focus that this staff member has. So Sebastian Becker still has quite a hands-on approach in terms of working in the R&D department of the business, for instance. And so this raises questions about whether he is giving the business's overall strategic direction his full and proper attention. So a question assessing this particular position and the managing director's role within the business at the moment could be something else you are tested on. Okay, so if you do come up against some of these issues, what are some of the key points you must remember and some of the key points that must be raised or might be relevant in questions like this? Well, the first couple of points relates to the importance of executive directors to a business, so independent parties here that challenge and help a business to construct its strategy, but also play key roles in other areas, so particular committees, for instance. And also the role of a chairman within the business and the importance of separating a business's CEO and its chairman to ensure that there is a level of separation at the top of the business and the business is not just controlled by one particular dominant figure. Another key governance issue is, of course, the agency theory and sort of ensuring that shareholders are assured that the business is being run in their best interests. So essentially this all is concerned with a business's directors, business's managers running the business not based on their own personal motivations or their own personal influences, but running the business as an entity to meet the needs and in the best needs of the business's shareholders. And of course another key point here is that as a public company, Chokolate Box has a range of standards that it must be seen to meeting, that it would not have to if it was a private business. So here what we're talking about are things such as accounting regulations. As a listed entity, there will be most likely a range of specific accounting legislation or regulations, so like the IFRS, that Chokolate Box has to adhere to as part of its listing on the Estland Stock Exchange. Similarly, there may well be particular governance codes that the business has to adhere to as part of its listing. So these standards that Chokolate Box has to hit as a public company is another highly relevant point to this particular issue. Okay, so we've looked at key points that you must raise. Are there any key theories that you can utilise as part of your revision and then as part of your actual exam? Well, the sort of theory that you could utilise in this instance is an example of a code of corporate governance. So, for instance, here we have the UK Code of Corporate Governance listed. And by spending a little bit of time to familiarise yourself with some of the key aspects of this code, so the 5 points that we can see on screen at the moment, this will be a really good way for you to brush up on some of the key governance issues that Chokolate Box will likely face, some of the key areas with which it will be required to comply. And this will also potentially provide you with specific pieces of governance theory that you can utilise in your exam. So maybe referencing this particular governance code, for instance, and specific things that it requires businesses to do. Having watched this sample, would like to take the opportunity to draw your attention to a few of the other products that Astranti offer in relation to the case study exams. Now, the first of these is a study text, and this study text is available for all 3 of the CIMA case study levels. This study text contains comprehensive advice on how to pass the relevant level case study exam. This is advice ranging from tips on how the exams are actually marked and what you need to do to get these marks, all the way through to actually writing style and other key advice. These study texts are then supplemented by course videos, and again these course videos touch on some of the key ideas that you need to abide by, that you need to be aware of when looking to pass your case study exams. For individual sittings, we then produce pre-scene analysis videos. Now these are a range of videos where an expert in the office dissects the pre-scene in minute detail, bringing out some of the key points that you need to be aware of and really giving you a thorough understanding of the company for you to take into your exam. These pre-scene analysis videos are then supplemented by our industry analysis pack. Now you'll be aware of this if you just watched our sample video, but essentially what this pack contains is an analysis on the industry behind the fictional case study company. So we look at the industry itself, competitors, things like that, really dig into detail here so you don't have to do this as part of your revision. And then crucially, we compare this to the case study company. So what we have here is a video that you've just seen a sample of, but the main thing we produce in this regard is an industry analysis document. On top of these products, we then produce mock exams. So there'll be a range of different mock exams for each case study sitting. And these are designed to be as real life as possible, as close to the real life exam as possible. So we provide not only a range of mock questions, but we also provide comprehensive, detailed model solutions, if you like. So you can compare your answers with the model solutions produced by our experts in-house. On top of this, you can then also choose to have the solutions that you create to our mock exams marked and then personalised feedback provided by CIMA qualified accountants. Now, on top of all these options, we also offer a comprehensive masterclass. And what this masterclass is really good for is those sorts of people who maybe have decided to study for the exam at the last minute, or those of you who just want a sort of comprehensive overview of everything that the exam will cover. And so these are comprehensive recordings which you can either watch live or which you can watch as recordings, covering everything you need to know about the exam. And finally, we do have a lot of confidence in the quality of our material. So if you purchase our full course pack, and if you don't pass your exam, unfortunately, using this pack, then we will offer you a pass guarantee. Essentially, we will provide you with free materials for the next course sitting. So all that's left for me to say is, once again, thank you very much for watching this video, and best of luck in your exam from everyone here at Astranti.